Morning, good evening, and good night, as they say in Las Vegas. My name is Charles Blain, and these are my co-hosts, Michael Searle, over to my right or left, I don't know, and Brad Swail wearing the hockey jersey down to the bottom. Howdy.
Not a hockey jersey.
What is it?
It's definitely, I mean, it's an Austin FC jersey, but that's fine.
Austin FC is, soccer jersey.
Yeah.
Pardon me. You don't even spell football correctly, I'm sure. But welcome, everyone, to our guests, to our friends, to our enemies. We are here for another episode of the BCM Podcast. Again, my name is Charles, and this week is episode 51. Just so you guys know, next week will be our 52nd episode, which means we've been doing this for 1 year.
One whole year.
So we will be having a big show for you guys, celebrity guests, gifts, giveaways. So tune in and
we better start.
How are you guys doing? What's going on? What do you guys want to talk about today?
I want to talk about what you're doing. Is that where the magic happens? What's happening?
Yeah.
This is where the magic happens. I am at a hotel in.
It's a hotel. I was going to say it's a cute headboard. That's not a hotel. That's yours.
Yep, I just got it. This is my new bedroom.
Did your mom design that for you? Your room?
Martha Stewart did, actually. Thank you.
Martha Stewart. I would think that with Martha Stewart's history, you wouldn't want her designing things for you.
Well, little do you know. But I'm in beautiful Washington, D.C. today, so we are bi-coastal. I am on the East Coast. They are on the Gulf Coast, and we are here to talk about things. There's been a lot that has happened in the past couple of days. One that I'm most excited about has been Donald Trump came out with watches for people to purchase. This is on the heels of him coming out with Trump coins a couple weeks ago, Melania coming out with a book, and then I believe they said he came out with something else recently too. So it seems like there's a lot of merch coming. And so I guess the reason what I want to ask you guys is, one, will you be buying a Trump watch, which looks conspicuously like a Tudor, just like a cheap version? And two, why do you think he is selling merchandise 40 days before a general election? And how does he have the time to do so?
So I went on the site to look at the watches to consider whether, do you have like a $20 version that I could buy?
No. $100,000, Charles. No one on the show is buying one.
Well, you got to do your homework. There's a $100,000 option. There's also a $499 option if you don't want the gold one. So you could spend $500, but I will not be spending $500 on some cheap watch that is marked up and has Trump's name on it. I guess.
What do you think? It doesn't tell time right, or what? Or you think it gives you an alternative time, some alternative facts?
Yeah, but I definitely won't be buying the watch for a number of different reasons. Why is he doing it? This is kind of he's way down in fundraising to Kamala. So he needs to raise money, but this is kind of the new trend. It's not, he's a little bit of a businessman, right? So he's trying to think of creative ways to raise money, and he likes products. He's got his hats and his Bitcoin or his cryptocurrency, and he did his trading cards, and he's just trying to figure out different ways to raise money for his campaign, I think. And
don't forget, last February he came out with the golden high tops, the shoes that everybody that black people would love. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can go to Kamala Harris's website, and she's slanging merch too. So it's not like he's, the only one doing it. He's just a little bit more unique about it. And watches are like fine wine. They rise in value over time. Unlike
especially these. Look at that. That looks nice. You think those are real diamonds?
Probably no.
What? For $100,000?
Yeah, I think you're buying the brand. I find it strange. I mean, I find it strange that someone who is serious about winning elections is out here hawking watches, and shoes and coins and things like that. The other thing is, I don't think this is a private endeavor. I don't think the buying of a watch goes to his campaign. Like, I think this goes in his pocket. And so, I don't. And I don't know. I mean, I just feel like also for $100,000, there are many, many great watches you can get that will trump these watches in a heartbeat. They're more.
They don't say Trump. They're not collector's editions. There's a lot of trading cards out there. I know you're big into Pokemon cards, Charles. Duh. You've shown Michael and I your collection, and it's embarrassingly large.
Yes,
so these other watches, the Rolex. Who doesn't have a Rolex nowadays? Am I right? I mean, but how many people have a Trump watch, right? How many people have Trump's collectible cards? How many people have the gold sneakers? Not a lot of people. And you know that people are going to buy this.
Of course.
So why it's not going to his campaign?
I don't know that to be certain, but when I go to the website, there's no reference to the campaign. Like there's no disclaimer, nothing like that. So I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it is.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't he do this, right? This is what he's kind of always done. He's set up different brands. He's a branding guy. And from Trump hotels to Trump universities to, Trump steaks to Trump whatever, right? Just slaps his name on it. And yeah, I mean, I think he's got a lot of money, right? So.
Oh, and I'm sorry. The disclaimer on the bottom says Trump watches are not designed, manufactured, distributed, or sold by Donald J. Trump, the Trump Organization, or any of their respective affiliates or principals. The Best Watches on Earth, LLC, uses the Trump name and image and likeness. These watches are not political and have nothing to do with any political campaign. So it's a branding. It's a branding deal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, good for him. A little pricey, $100,000.
Yeah.
What is he trying to market to Democrat donors? Am I right, guys?
How many are there of the $100,000 watches?
I don't know. It doesn't say a 1,000 piece limited edition. Well, that's actually that's a $799 one. I'm sorry. I don't know.
When he wins the election and destroys the deep state in 20 years, those watches are going to be worth $200,000.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, go trade your Bitcoin for them.
It's an investment. No, Bitcoin will go up more.
No, you're gonna sell your Bitcoin so you can bid on InfoWars.
No, I'm not.
You're gonna buy that property, and we're gonna turn this podcast into the InfoWars podcast, formerly featuring Alex Jones, now featuring Charles, Blain, Michael Searle, and Brad Swail. It rolls off the tongue.
It does.
It sure does. All right. Well,
a lot of people are speculating about the InfoWars thing that Elon Musk should purchase all of it and then allow Alex Jones to continue as is, or having some sort of venture capitalist, whatever, someone else buy it and then hire Alex Jones as a W-2 or whatever. I don't know the fucking tax code. IRS, don't come after me. I don't know the tax code. I'm sorry if it's wrong. And just keep, because that's Alex Jones is the value there.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
They're still going to garnish his wages.
What does he owe? $1 trillion?
Yeah, or $1 billion.
I think it's a little more.
What's the upside? I think millions of people watch that platform.
Charles, you asked what's the upside of buying InfoWars?
So
no. The question was, what's the upside of having Alex Jones in the public sphere?
Now look, Charles, you need to think outside the box a little bit. Now, on this show, if someone bought the rights to this show, they could get rid of, say, Charles, and the show would still be great, right? But if you buy InfoWars, it's not InfoWars without Alex Jones. You can't do that.
Does Alex Jones bring a benefit? Is he a net negative or a net positive to the overall political conversation and dialogue?
I mean, a net positive?
Wait,
is that a rhetorical question?
He's a huge positive.
He's paused.
He's paused, and
I
he's
was
a positive.
asking a question.
No, it's a loaded question. We know how you feel about it. Just because you did a live show with Tucker Carlson, now you hate him?
Vent your Alex Jones.
Come on, let's hear it.
Without saying Sandy Hook.
Uh-oh.
I don't have an issue with Alex Jones in particular. I just was curious if you guys think this is positive or negative of having his voice out there in the public sphere.
I think he's more honest than CNN.
Charles?
And why is it my answer? What do you mean me?
Because you asked the question. I mean, I think it's positive. One, because he's entertaining, and to Michael's point, I think he's honest. I don't know that I'm not saying that he's always right, but I think he's trying to be honest. And so, I think that there's value to that. No, you could, and I'm sure Charles would make this argument because he's Charles and he's normcore, that Alex Jones is a net negative because he's loud and bombastic and it hurts his ears when he listens to him.
Not at all. That's no. Loud and bombastic is healthy. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't think it's anybody's job, not yours or mine or Alex Jones's, to be right about everything. And I think part of his brand and his pitch is I'm going to push the bounds, and sometimes he misses, but sometimes he gets things right. And he's years ahead of most people. Mm-hmm. And I think there's value to the, what do you call them? The people willing to push the bounds of accepted, dialogue, because we got to go. It helps us get closer to the truth, even if he's wrong about some things.
Guys, y'all keep going. I'm going to let background Charles here just stand in for me for a second. I'll be right back. Okay. Y'all keep going. I'll pick up where y'all left off. I already know what y'all are going to say. It's
okay. The less talking you're doing, the more you can go be doing whatever you're going to do.
Who knows what I'm going to do though? Uh-oh.
I don't have a problem with Jones. He's fine. He can do his own thing. We all have the choice, the freedom to listen to who we choose to listen to. And we do need people who are pushing the bounds, who are saying things that people are afraid to say. I just, great.
You're holding back there, kid.
I'm just not his biggest fan. The whole Sandy Hook thing, I think, was just, so beyond the pale. I just think, yes, you can ask questions and you can speculate, but the children, their families, the gut-wrenching pain that so many people had gone through for him to get a couple of clicks, that's the stuff that I can't get behind. The rage baiting that not just him, that a lot of these people do, especially nowadays on social media. They say the craziest thing just to get likes and retweets. And sometimes they know it's not true, or sometimes there might be like a thread of truth and they exploit that. That's the stuff that frustrates me.
Yeah, and that's close to home for you, right? Sandy Hook.
No, where's that? Connecticut? Well, it's kind of next to our neighbor, but yeah.
Yeah, northeast.
9/11 is close to home for me.
Yeah.
So I don't buy that stuff.
Well, here's my take on the Sandy Hook thing, because I have friends that went down that rabbit hole and they tried for years to get me to do it, and I just couldn't. For a lot of the reasons you brought up. But I think Alex Jones believed it. I think he believed that it was some sort of staged event or something.
Yeah.
And when you're constantly inundating yourself, believe me, when you're constantly inundating yourself with material that's outside the mainstream, you can fall victim of believing things that aren't true. And I think he probably believed it. And what he was saying at the time, he probably believed. Should he have? I guess I just give him a little more grace because I know people that also believe that. And I don't think he was just doing it for clickbait. I think he honestly believed that was some sort of staged event.
Well, I do give people credit when they do genuinely believe the stuff that they say, even if it's something that I vehemently disagree with. I got to give them credit if they genuinely are pushing it because they believe it. I gotta give them credit for that. Okay, great. That was a great conversation.
You're so cute.
Let's skip to the next one. Will Ted Cruz win?
Uh-oh. Colin Allred's hot on his heels.
No. He is. And this is okay. So this comes from obviously a bunch of the recent polling that has come out that has shown the race to be neck and neck. Jasper Scherer, who I have a lot of respect for, he's a reporter with the Tribune. He posted a poll from Inside Elections. It's their not a poll, but their forecast, where they shifted the race from likely Republican to lean Republican. Interestingly enough, it kind of falls right in between the Montana race and the Florida-Nebraska race. Florida-Nebraska is likely Republican, and Montana's tilt Republican. So do you think that it was worth a shift? Do you think we're in trouble? We are speaking as the state GOP.
No, Cruz is underperforming Trump in Texas. Trump's going to win pretty handily. I think Cruz RCP average has it at 5 right now. I think it's probably going to come in above that. I mean, Cruz is we've talked about this. Cruz isn't the most liked person, so I'm not surprised to see him underperforming Trump. But I looked at some of the other Senate races too, and he's not the only one that is underperforming Trump in a red state. Kerry Lake is way down. Obviously, North Carolina is a disaster for governor, but Trump's kind of above all these people, which brings into the question of whether or not Trump is the problem or the old GOP is the problem in the Republican Party. But I will not diverge. I don't think Colin Allred I don't think it's as close as they're saying it is. I think it's going to be 6 points or more.
What is
You
Charles?
think it's going to be a larger spread than Beto Cruz?
Yeah.
Interesting.
One, I think Minnie Solder is definitely going to win North Carolina. Okay, you can't be that creative in your online life, in your personal life, in your bedroom life, and not run a solid campaign. So Minnie Solder, keep on soldering, right?
Get creamy.
Oh, pissy feeling.
Thanks, Michael.
So I think this is interesting. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a frequent guest and co-host on KLBJ here in Austin.
Yeah, we
and what?
You told
us. Yeah, you said that's really awesome. I think you said I appreciate you saying that. Thank you, Charles. So what's interesting is they have callers call in pretty often, and it's pretty obvious that they're astroturfed callers. They'll call, like some guy from Massachusetts will call in and start talking about the Texas Senate race and like how Texans need to pick someone better. They're obviously reading off bullet points. There's an organized campaign to call in and like try to do this sort of stuff all over the place. KLBJ is not the only one that does it. It's very obvious. And I mean, they have fun with it. They really make fun of these guys when they call in. But it seems like, there's a lot of chatter online. I don't know if online is also real life. Is that true? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it.
No.
Online is not real life. However, I do think that it does give you a good temperature on the way some people are feeling. I do think, and I wouldn't completely separate it because I do think it can be accurate. And I don't know. The 2018 race was 2.8 points. And in my estimation, when you look at Beto, he was much more well-known and much more disliked by Republicans than Colin Allred was because he was a higher profile figure. I don't know which one of them is more radical, but Beto kind of went into that radical place to kind of win that race or win the primary. So he seems much more disliked by Republicans than Colin Allred did, those Republicans who may not bring themselves to vote for the top of the ticket. So that's why I think that's why I'm putting some credibility to the numbers, but I still think he's going to pull it off, I would think.
2018 was so unique, and Trump wasn't on the top of the ticket, so he wasn't driving Republican turnout. Trump is at the top of the ticket now. Allred is, he's less well known, but he's also generating less energy. Is Kamala really energizing Democratic voters in Texas the way the hatred of Trump did in 2018? I don't know, maybe, but I hear you, but I don't think it's going to be within that margin.
Now explain it to me again. Why is Ted Cruz so disliked as a person? Now, he's a politician to me. I don't know. Is he, he seems like a smart guy. I don't know that I would be friends with him in real life. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. But like, why is he more disliked than say Marco Rubio?
I mean, you haven't seen. So when you talk to people around Ted Cruz, like people who know him well, they always talk about how he's like the coolest and he's funny and he cracks jokes and he's a great time to be around. But most people don't get to be around Ted Cruz that often, and so you get what you are presented.
Sure.
And that presentation is very different than the presentation of Marco Rubio or whoever else. So I think people have this perception in their head because they don't get to have one-on-one with him, so they don't know that side of him.
I get it. The presentation is different. What we are shown, he's a different person, so obviously it's going to be different, but I don't understand people's visceral reaction in the negative for Ted Cruz. Like, what is it about him that people don't like? And I used Marco Rubio as an example as another just Republican senator. There's other Republican senators. There's John Cornyn, lovable, huggable, effective John Cornyn.
I think.
Would you wait? Sorry, Michael. Just interrupt. Would you call Ted Cruz lovable, huggable?
Only John Cornyn. That's language.
There's your answer.
That's language that I reserve for one senator and one senator alone, and that's John Cornyn.
No, but that's your answer right there, though. Why would he be lovable and huggable and not Ted Cruz? That's the same reason.
You know that I'm joking about John Cornyn. He's not lovable and huggable. He's the politician like the rest of them.
No, but I think there's some truth to what you're saying. Like, sure, do you love him? Do you want to hug him? No, I'm not saying that. But
I was joking, and you're taking it a little bit too seriously.
I don't think so, but okay.
Yes, you definitely are. No one seems to be able to answer the question. What is it that rubs people the wrong way? Is it his look? Is it his doughy look? Is he like really smart but looks dumb and like throws? I don't know.
I think that he's the poster child for the conservative right.
Okay,
that's the first thing. Like, who would you think of in the Texas, or not in the Texas Senate, in the Senate, who is kind of the poster child of the conservative religious right? It's Ted Cruz, right? And he's national. He has national name recognition. He's kind of equivalent, in terms of being known to like an Elizabeth Warren.
Okay,
on the left. The second thing about him, he just kind of comes off harsh. He's a lawyer. He comes off kind of harsh and a little bit know-it-all-y, and I think that rubs people the wrong way. Then there's just the aesthetic that he's worked on. He put the beard on, which helped with his likability. So I think those factors, and then
all three of us have facial hair today. Look at that.
It's his choice, his issue set that he chooses to advocate for or against seems to enrage the most amount of people. It's like he's pro-war, anti-abortion, and like pro-free markets. And I don't know. It's just kind of a unique issue set that angers some people on the populist right, some people in the center, and really enrages the left. So the combination of those three or four factors, I think, leads to him being less liked.
I just don't know. I mean, it kind of seems like Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz probably align a lot when it comes to policy and politics. I don't think there's a lot of space between them.
I disagree.
I do too. I would say Cruz is closer to Ken Paxton than he is to Greg Abbott.
Yes.
Okay. Really?
Yeah, but he's like the pre-Trump Tea Party religious conservative poster child.
And Greg Abbott's not those things. I mean, maybe not poster child, but Greg Abbott's not those things.
No.
Calm down.
Any real legislative controversy before like the past 2-3 years when he started pushing the abortion ban and school choice, like the whole first half.
When did that happen?
The whole first half of his term, there was never really much animosity from Democrats. I mean, yes, Democrats, did what Democrats do, but it wasn't as hot as it was because he wasn't really pushing these red meat issues. So no, I mean, they're wildly different. I think they're
wildly different
in the small spectrum of the conservative spectrum. Yes, I would not put them. I would put Abbott closer to Marco Rubio than I would put, just because you said Marco Rubio before he's in my mind, than I would Paxton or Cruz. And I would put Cruz, in many instances, put Cruz farther to the right than Paxton. In some instances, some maybe not.
Okay, well,
yeah. And
so there's something about his je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. The other factor here is there's been a long-standing effort to turn Texas blue, which has drawn lots of money and attention and media coverage, and Cruz has kind of been at the center of fighting against that. So whereas you don't see that in Montana, for example, there's no real interest in turning. So there's not as much attention and money spent on Steve Daines, although Steve Daines is a little bit different personality than Ted Cruz.
Okay, well, still don't get it, but fine.
Tried.
Are you like a Ted Cruz super fan?
No, not at all. I'm generally not a fan of any politician, but Michael's talking about how Ted Cruz is sort of the poster child for, religious right-wing politics or whatever, but he's disliked even by Republicans, like on a personal level. They vote for him because he's a solid senator in their opinion, right? but they still don't like him. And I hear that all the time when I talk to people. They're like, yeah, Ted Cruz, he's not gross, Ted Cruz. I get to, okay, like what makes him different than any other sleaze politician?
Okay.
Ted Cruz is sleaze, I don't know. But whatever, you get the point.
If you had the opportunity, disregarding their politicians, so don't give me, I don't care if the politicians. If you had the opportunity to go out for drinks and burgers with Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz, who would you pick?
Ted Cruz.
No, you would not.
I would too.
No, disregarding politics. I literally said disregarding politics. If these were just two individuals and you were like, okay, like
Cruz seems like he has a personality. Marco Rubio doesn't.
Okay, fine. Maybe Marco Rubio is not the best choice. Greg Abbott or Ted Cruz. Okay, these aren't like great.
Here,
what about Representative Luna?
Okay, well that's
I'll choose her.
You can't.
Yeah.
Lauren Boebert. I'll choose her.
That doesn't count either. I can't think of a perfect example right now. But
what type of people on the right dislike Ted Cruz?
I mean,
center right and populist right, not conservatives.
Populist right doesn't like him.
Well, yeah, because he went hard in the paint on Trump during the 2016 election, and
he's his opponent. I don't know. Maybe okay, sure.
And they're also, some of them are anti-war.
Okay, well, I guess to answer the question, we all agree he is going to win, and why some people dislike him is just something that evades all of us, I guess. We just have no idea. And so, my next question is...
Brad's right again.
Do you guys feel that you were better off today than you were 4 years ago? And that
you need to take some medication. Why are you fidgeting? Spinning in your chair like that.
I always fidget when I am sitting there, which is why half the time you're always like, "Oh, you drew it off," because I'm like,
what?
Because I'm always like moving, like just like. Anyway,
yeah.
Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And I want you guys to really take a second to think about this. You know, in terms of everything, like, do you feel safer? Do you feel more secure? Do you feel happier? But not just you, talking about things that we can measure objectively. So do you feel, well, I guess it's a subjective question. You can't answer objectively, but do you feel better off today than 4 years ago? And don't just answer in a political context because you want to say, no, I don't, because of Joe Biden and the liberal Democrats. Just say, like, do you?
But I mean, like, stuff like inflation affects how well you can live. I mean, that.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't think it's fair to totally eliminate that in the equation.
I didn't say eliminate that.
I mean, you kind of did, but fine.
I said don't say it purely because you want to like stick it to Joe Biden and the Democrats. I'm saying just based on
one person wants to stick it to Joe Biden on this show, and it's you, buddy.
Michael.
Oh, you want me to go? So I did think about this more than a second, and I don't know that my situation is really an apt one, or not apt, but a comparable situation for most people. In the last 4 years, I've got married, I've had kids, I've moved in with a woman. Like, there's so many personal changes that I'm so much better off in that area. But that also comes with additional responsibilities, additional expenses, all sorts of things that contribute to the financial side of it. So am I better off on the financial side? Yes. But when I was single, I had all sorts of running around, money to do whatever I wanted with, So generally, I think the answer is I'm way better off. But the economy, here's one thing I'll say. It seems people today are more hesitant to spend money because they're more constricted by interest rates, inflation, how much money they're making versus the cost of goods. There's certainly that I can sense, not just in my personal life, but also just interacting with other people. And in that way, I would say we're not better off. But personally, I'm in a much better place for all the personal reasons.
Good. Brad. And I'm not saying, Brad, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, from the bottom of my heart, 4 years ago, I didn't know you, Charles. So here I am. Am I a better person?
Yes.
You're welcome.
I'll let the listeners decide.
Well, it's hard to say not. They've seen you at episode 1 and now episode 51, and the only influence could have come from me. And so I think you're probably much better off.
That's an interesting perspective. I like the way you think about that. Good for you, Charles. Keep it up. Keep up the positivity. Stay positive.
I will.
So am I better off? Well, geez. Life is so much different than it was 4 years ago. I'll talk about it in the sense of like personal career goals, and I'm closer to achieving those than I was 4 years ago. So I'll say that's certainly a positive. And I have 3 beautiful, happy, healthy children. My daughter currently has a stomach ache, a little tummy trouble, which is fine, but she's very happy and healthy. Yeah. And I mean, I think I try to be positive no matter what's going on. There's always bad stuff happening, but yeah, I think so long as I'm happy and the kids are happy, then I'm good.
That's great to hear, and I'm so glad to hear that for you.
You're so welcome. And plus, I still to this day, I know you guys find this hard to believe, still to this day, have never counted a single fucking calorie. And I look good. I feel good. I'm strong. I'm fast. I compete. I don't have to worry about it. My clothes fit all the time. It's just so normal and easy. But and that's still so that's good. I mean, that makes me happy that I'm still not wasting my time.
Some of those are debatable because we have not done a strength competition, so no one really knows if you are actually strong or if you just claim to be or what the case may be.
That's a good point.
But great.
That's a good point.
Those are great answers, and I'm really happy to hear that. Sometimes in this crazy thing called life, this journey that we're on this spinning rock, we just don't know what's going to happen. So when we look 4 years later, we have to wonder, are we better off or are we not? And sometimes we're not, and sometimes we are. And sometimes we just have to let it be. It is what it is. We're not better off. We're not worse off. We just are.
Are you having, it's very zen. Are you on some sort of like meditation journey recently? Or are you listening to a lot of Sam Harris or?
I don't know who that is.
Ram Dass?
You don't know who Sam Harris is?
No.
You are I don't know. Is that normcore or not? I don't know.
No.
Sam Harris, is he an artist?
No.
Bullshit artist.
True. I'm not a big Sam Harris fan, as you can imagine.
Great. Okay,
well,
awesome.
One thing that's interesting about that, what we all said is maybe the presidency doesn't have that big of an impact on where you are. And maybe are you better off for you? Well, the 3 of us are fortunate to be in situations where we can be better off than we were 4 years ago. And I'm not sure that that's the case for everyone, but for the 3 of us, it sounds like who the president is doesn't have a huge impact on where our life goes.
And that's exactly the point of this segment, Michael. Thank you for bringing that home. Thank you for landing the plane, because that is exactly the point. I think we put so much pressure, so much emphasis on what happens in Washington, D.C., or even in Austin, Texas.
I mean, you're in Washington, D.C. right now.
And we disregard what's happening at home in our backyards, because that's what matters most. And we forget and we think that all these conversations that are happening on the nightly news are going to impact our day-to-day, and they typically don't. I don't know the last time I've felt anything regarding the national debt, but what I can tell you is when my local school district is in debt, kids go hungry. Or when my city is in debt, we have to pay more for taxes. And so you landed that plane. You brought that boat into the dock. You brought that rocket ship back down. I mean, you really hit the nail on the head right there with the comment about who the president is shouldn't impact our day-to-day lives so much that we worry about it all the time.
This is so weird.
How do you respond to people? I hear that, but we're fortunate. We're all lucky. We have a house over our heads. We have we have enough money to sustain our lifestyle. We have enough money to travel and do fun things like drink ayahuasca or, go to Austin FC games. What do we say to the people who don't have the means that we have and that are getting pummeled by inflation? Does it matter who the president is for them?
Michael, can I just say real quick, you're talking about we're all very fortunate, right? Because we have, you said house over our head. I think you meant roof over your head, but we'll just go with house over your head. You know, if Charles had his way, we'd all have multiple houses over our head.
Yeah, we would have multiple houses: a summer house, a winter house, a Christmas house, a family.
And all of them would be cardboard boxes, tiny homes, just all like stacked on top of each other.
To your point, Michael, I think you're right. We are incredibly fortunate, but when we say fortunate, we have to take a step back and we have to think about what is the meaning of fortune, right? And what do you guys what?
Go on.
I sit back sometimes to listen.
Huh?
I sit back sometimes just to listen.
So we have to think about what the meaning of fortune is. And are we really fortunate? I mean, I think that we've been blessed with things that some others have not. But, you know, it's kind of like the parable of the man who had the horse. And they said, you're so lucky to have the horse. And then his son was riding on the horse and then broke his leg. And then he couldn't tend to the farm. We just don't know, right? And I think for the people who live with less but are still able to make it, I think they're when we look at them and we encourage them to look at government, the federal government still doesn't play or shouldn't play as big of a role in their lives as it is. Yes, inflation's horrible. It's crushing. But inflation is made worse by the fact that our local governments are raising our taxes and leaving less money in our pocket to go and buy those eggs that are now $6 and once were $3. And so I encourage them of all people to really rally around the local because that's where they can have an impact. And so I agree. It's easy and it's from a place of privilege to say that it doesn't matter. And it does matter. And it does matter. I agree it does. But I'd push and I'd say it doesn't matter as much. But at the end of the day, I'd say we have to go back to the root and say, what is fortune? And, you know, I was raised in a middle-class family. And let me just end it there. But
well, I want to say this has been a lovely segment that we're going to call Charles's Deep Thoughts.
That is ridiculous. Okay, so now let's shift to, is food poisoning us? What a heck of a transition that is. Michael, why don't you take this one?
Yes.
While I take a sip of water.
Yeah.
What's in that water? Astrazine?
Yeah,
I don't know what that
Astrazine.
is.
Don't drink that vitamin water or the Gatorade that you have.
Wait, you don't like vitamin water?
Can't drink it. Astrazine.
What is that?
Chemicals. Read the label. Read your ingredients. So the reason I brought this topic up is because a couple days ago there was some sort of Senate hearing on what's in our food. And that's awesome. I love that they're talking about that. But what really ignited me is Ghislaine Maxwell's BFF, Lauren Powell Jobs, is that her name? Who owns The Atlantic, came out with a doozy of a headline that said, "The Woo Woo Caucus holds a hearing."
Who said a woo woo caucus?
Didn't mean to laugh.
The Atlantic.
Okay.
Which is owned by Lauren Powell Jobs, who is Ghislaine Maxwell's best friend. I will reiterate that.
Lauren Powell Jobs?
Yeah, I think that's her name.
Is she related to Steve?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
She owns The Atlantic. I better be saying that. Let's check. Let's make sure
I'm looking it up. You keep talking.
Okay. So they're kind of making fun of him, but then my wife was on the Instagram and she's like, all the crunchy moms are out in force retweeting this stuff. You know, they're retweeting, you know, what people are saying at this hearing about all the poison in our food. And then Matthew, the oldest, comes home from school and he's like, what is happening? My friend Waylon is not allowed to eat Cheez-Its anymore. His mom saw some hearing and now is not. So I'm like, have we reached a tipping point on this thing? Because the crunchy moms are out in force. Matthew's friend Waylon can't have his Cheez-Its anymore. So people are energized and looking at the labels in their food. And what they're finding is that because of a number of perverse incentives, mergers between big tobacco and big food back in the 1990s and 2000s, there's a bunch of stuff in our food that's really bad for us. And it's leading to chronic disease, obesity, all the things we know about why America has higher healthcare costs than any other country in the world. And RFK and Trump have kind of, well, RFK more so, is kind of bringing this into the popular conscience a little bit. And I think it's a good development. Although people like Lauren Powell Jobs.
It's Laureen, I believe.
Whatever her name is.
You were asking earlier, but there she is in the white, and then there's Ghislaine.
Meeting? I thought that's what we were looking up.
And then there's Ghislaine holding the paper. I think she sees. I think Jeffrey Epstein is just right off camera.
Yeah,
and that's why she's making that surprise face. You're still alive.
Oh man. And it's interesting to me that the Democrat elites would have this reaction to what seems like a pretty non-controversial topic to talk about, like what's in our food, why are we sick, should we do things differently so we're less sick? And their response is, y'all are a bunch of woo-woos.
Yeah, I think that you're right that there is sort of the zeitgeist, as Charles want to say, is changing. And it's becoming more socially acceptable to talk about the food supply and medical practices and all sorts of stuff. It's becoming more okay to talk about that stuff, and the typical, crunchy moms, that sort of thing. Michael has big crunchy mom energy for sure, and that's fine. Good for you. That doesn't have the same, punch that it used to, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with this election. I think a lot of it has to do with COVID and the COVID response, and people sort of realizing like, hey, that I can take control. I should be empowered to improve my health and not rely on, somebody else necessarily. Of course, there's always room for doctors and everything like that, obviously. But yeah, I went to my daughter's preschool, like parent-teacher night last night, and the teacher, principal, whatever you want to call her, was talking about like, yeah, you guys should be, looking out like what's in y'all's food and like the food colorings and sort of the, look into how that could maybe affect your children's health and mental health and social responses and all that other stuff. And it's sort of a crunchy school a little bit, so it's not like blow me away, like, whoa, I can't believe you said that. But it's becoming more socially acceptable for sure.
Well, okay, so I guess my question is, what, with the caucus hearing, what is their intention? What is their hope? And what is your hope? Is it that you want government to
strongly worded letters is their intention?
Is it that they want government to ban this stuff? Is it that they just want people more informed?
You can look at just other, like whether it's Canada or other European countries, they have a totally different list of ingredients on popular products. Like as far as stuff like even just food dyes, they don't allow chemical stuff. They'll use more natural, like actual, blueberry juice for blue or whatever, right? Carrot juice for orange. Where here it's, red 45. Now, I don't know if you've heard about Red 45. I'm personally a fan of Red 44, but Red 45 is fine in a pinch. And so, they don't allow glyphosate. Glyphosate. They don't allow glyphosate, right? And their crops are therefore different and healthier and all that other stuff if you eat that kind of thing, Charles. So, I don't know what their intent is. Is it to sort of go towards an EU Canada model? Maybe. I'm afraid that all we're going to get is a strongly worded letter.
What are you hoping, Michael? Are you hoping they ban this stuff?
I wouldn't be opposed to it, even
nanny stater.
Yeah, given my principles. But I don't know. I was talking to the oldest. He's 11. Matthew's 11. And he's like, I don't want to know this stuff. I'm talking about what's in his food. He's like, I don't want to know this stuff. I'm just a kid. And he's like, it makes me scared. He was like actually he's like afraid of what he's eating. And I'm like, all my intention here is to give you good information, kid, so you can make good decisions. That's it. I'm not telling you don't eat it. Nothing. You're not going to die. Don't worry about it. But
no, I'm just scaring you.
The stuff in your food, they put stuff in your food that's bad for you. All you got to do is pick up the label, read it, look how much added sugar there is, look if there's stuff you can't pronounce. And that's probably, you probably don't want to eat that thing. So what do I want to see out of it? I would love to just see good information, because I don't think that's out there right now. Not if you're looking for it, you can find it, but I would like to see better information about food and diet and health, because one of the big debates we always have is, what are we going to do about healthcare? We have the highest healthcare costs in the country. Well, we're all sick. Most of that healthcare cost, not most of it, I can't quantify it. A lot of that healthcare cost is due to our lifestyles and our diets and what we're eating. and people are making money off of that. So do I want to see them outlaw yellow 40? I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I would rather see it be in the, I would rather see most Americans know about yellow 40 and what it does to them and avoid it.
You just want the conversation in the zeitgeist.
I mean, this shit should be on CNN every night.
Every night.
It's that big of a crisis. Yes, 60% of kids in our country are overweight. What are we doing?
Okay, but that's because they don't implement the presidential fitness test anymore.
It's a good point. It's a very good point, Charles. They also don't count enough calories.
That's true. They don't.
Definitely,
They don't
100%.
walk to school. They don't. They barely have phys ed. You get a phys ed so easily. You, of course, all the bad food. Yes, all these things collectively make it worse. But I don't know. What do we do? Take away the video games, close the schools.
Give good information.
But it's even as a kid, even if I had all the good information, like what I used to love, or any sour gummy candy, and I still have I can't eat any because if I start, I'll go addicted to it for 3 weeks. And but I used to always eat that. If you told me how all the crap that was in that, the fact that the little sugar crystals are like chemical, I would have still eaten it. How do you get kids unless you make something better? That's why I think, what's crazy? They don't make candy that tastes. I mean, they don't make healthy candy like fruit. Like, why can't you just? I don't know. They need to make better candy if that's the
Smart
case.
sweets.
Wait, hold on.
Smart sweets.
Tart sweets.
Smart
Sweet. I don't know what that is.
Hold on a second. Who makes 95% of the decisions about what kids eat? The kid? Of course,
parent.
the kid. The
kid. Yeah.
The kid. No. The kid doesn't. The kid. The kid doesn't make the decision. The parent does. Of course, a kid is going to want sugar. It's addictive. It creates a chemical response in their brain that they, just like a cell phone does or just like a drug does, that makes them want to come back for more and get that dopamine hit. It's the same process in the brain. So that's why we don't let kids decide what they're going to eat for breakfast. We give them options. And then, so this isn't about the kids. It's about the parents informing the kids. And unfortunately, our adult population is just as bad. They're just as sick. And it's not because they don't know. I think if people knew, if this was on CNN every night, I don't think we would have the same problem. I would still eat a dessert every once in a while. I still do that in my day-to-day life. I like, my big sin food is potato chips. I freaking love potato chips. I'll crush a bag in a sitting, and I'll still do that. But 99% of the food I eat is whole foods, no chemicals. And I think it's because I'm informed about it, not because I'm better or whatever. It's just because I know what's in the foods. And if we told people what was in the foods, they would make better choices. But it's all been hidden from us. It's all been concealed purposefully. So we don't know, so that we get sick and we get addicted to sugar. And then we go to the hospital early and we get on medications, and we're on medications for the rest of our life, paying hospitals and doctors and pharmaceutical companies.
Is there a difference between informed, like you're saying, if only people were informed? I still think that if people were informed, I don't know, like, is there a desire? Is there a desire to believe that? I don't know. I kind of tend to say no, that people don't want to believe that, because there's a real, I don't know, the walls may come crashing down kind of way of, oh, I've been lied to my entire life by people that I suppose, or I don't know if lying is the right word. Maybe, I've been told what? Misled, misinformed, perhaps lied to. I don't know. But the whole system has been telling me to eat this way and that I'm okay. And this is like that I'm healthy and I'm making right choices. The whole system's has been wrong the whole time. That's a difficult thing to combat with just, I'm going to inform you.
If you took 100 people who drink energy drinks and you told them there's shit in your energy drink, you don't think a vast majority of them or half of them would stop drinking them?
Are you talking about literal shit?
Yes, there's literal sludge that's taken from wastewater plants and turned into an additive for energy drinks, and it's put in your freaking energy drink. Yes.
Man, why am I paying Red Bull money? Just take me straight to the source.
Protein powders, check them. I'll send you Yeah.
There's shit in protein powder?
It's a waste product from wastewater treatment plants that they turn into an additive to food, and it's not allowed in other countries, but it's exactly, see what you guys are doing? It's
I mean,
in
no.
your food.
I don't think that you can inform them. I think that people would still not believe you.
I think you're probably right, but we're not talking about a zero. It's not everybody or nobody. I'm saying
Sure.
a portion of people would, I remember when I woke up to food, a portion of people would have that reaction to it. When I was playing basketball in college and we got our food stipend, I'd go get 2 $6 burgers, fries, and a 32-ounce diet Pepsi from Carl's Jr. Like, so I've eaten that way. Believe
Your
me.
food stipend.
Yeah, we got our food was paid for
like all your food, or just like one meal a day? Like you're talking about your food stipend, and you go get
traveling for games.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you had to like go wait in a ticket window and they give you like
no. They just handed you cash.
Oh, okay.
Well, look at you, aren't you fancy?
My point is, if people have good information, a lot of people are going to make better choices, and that's what we need that. But the pharmaceutical companies and the big ag and the big food companies have controlled and corrupted the media apparatus, which is supposed to tell us this information, and they're not. And that's why people are making bad choices. And it's also why 10% of food stamp costs are soda.
Man, that's a heavy subject to leave it on. Well, it's sad, but we have to eat better. We have to eat right. We've got to start eating better foods. So for all the bad parents out there that Michael just scolded, please listen and start feeding your kid better food. That means beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, ham, yams, all that good stuff. All right.
Well, what about in Springfield, Ohio? How are they eating?
So this was another great episode of the BCM Podcast. Next week will be our 1-year anniversary. Remember, we're going to have celebrity guests. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have raffles, animals, a clown, not just Brad, a real one. So please tune in, watch it. Thank you for supporting and sharing and liking and commenting. Make sure you do it on this one. Sorry we were not live this week, but we will be back live next week. So tune in because we have a lot in store.